Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the channel. And today I am going to be reviewing Paying the Land by Joe Sacco. And what can I say? The postman always delivers. Joe Sacco has done it again. What we have here is a fantastic, absolutely magnificent piece of journalism that starts being something, or you think it's going to be something, and it becomes something else. It's the good old bait and switcheroo trick, and it's truly amazing. So, Paying the Land, what it is about is Joe Sacco visiting the Aboriginal people of the Northwestern Territories in Canada and seeing how the effects of fracking and mining in such a sort of desolate area has impacted the lives of the Aboriginal people there, and how the Canadian government has dealt with it over the years. So originally, the book starts talking about fracking and the process of fracking and mining for oil and gas under the land and its effects on the environment. But very quickly, it becomes about the personal experiences of the people, the Dean, then, my pronunciation, people of the Canadian North and their interactions with the Canadian government. And it is truly amazing, and it's shocking, and it's terrible, and it's sad, and it's a really painful story. But without any judgment calls, Joe Sacco simply presents the facts and how different people have got different views or different takes on it. So to summarize, basically, in case you didn't know anything about it, the Dean people, were the original inhabitants of the north of Canada, nomadic people living off the land, being very close to the land, just in some sort of nomadic sort of survival kind of living experience, just living off hunting, gathering, fishing, trapping, selling furs, tanning hides of animals, and just having a very sort of basic lifestyle. Then oil, gas, minerals are discovered in the north. Canadian government starts mining and building, and this has an effect on those local tribes who all of a sudden, because of the new jobs available and because of the new wealth brought in the area, give up their nomadic lifestyle and become settled people living in the north of Canada. Now, didn't know anything about this, but very tragically, the Canadian government decided that these Dean people had to be assimilated into what in the book is called Euro-Western values. So they are the children are forcibly removed from the parents and sent to kind of boarding schools to be educated in a Christian Catholic environment, and the traditions were stripped away. They were banned from speaking the language and then sort of sent back to the families. And there is a lot of tragedy there, going into the darkest, deepest, most horrific depths of human depravity. And these are just people telling their stories, and how people that experienced abuse carried on that abuse in their relationships in the future. So parents passed on the same abuse they were victims of onto their children. Truly a tragic story. But the book's not preachy, and the subjects of the interviews with Joe Sacco are under no false ideas about the life that they used to live. So you get like 3 generations of people interviewed in the book, and you've got the grandparents, the elder ones, that remember what it was like living in sub-freezing temperatures, and how they said they will never go back to that. Why would they give up the comforts of modern life? But equally, you get the second and the third generations of people who are sort of caught in between, and how the traditions and values are not fit for current modern society, and they are at a loss on a sort of personal, spiritual level, and the huge issues with drugs and alcohol that are present in society in that part of the country. So it's not trying to glorify that sort of nomadic, barely survival sort of lifestyle. It's just simply presenting the conflict, the intergenerational conflict that arises from a sudden modernization of a group of people that have got different values, different approaches, different attitudes to life, because they were there, they lived there, and then the Canadian government arrived and said, well, this land is ours, and we'll just give you a tiny bit of money in exchange for the mining rights and the fracking rights and the exploitation of the natural resources that were already there, which endangered the wildlife that was the support of these people. It's a really interesting topic that I didn't know anything about. Whenever we talk about the conflicts of natural resource extraction, we think about maybe the cobalt mines in Sudan. All these things seem to happen in third world countries. We hear about when the World Cup in Qatar football took place last year, the conditions in which the stadiums were built, or when the Beijing Olympics took place, the sort of inhuman conditions in which all the facilities were built. And we always think that these things happen in more remote, less developed parts of the world. Turns out that right there in Canada, you've got the same issues happening. And basically, the book doesn't really offer a conclusion. It doesn't pass a judgment, because it is almost like the inevitable tragedy that these cultures, these lifestyles are bound to disappear, because modernization, resource extraction are here to stay. And it's about how these people manage to cope with those changes. It's a tough book, right? So the stories told are, if you did a video report about it, if you did a documentary on Netflix about it, you'd be in tears listening and watching these people's stories and their experiences. But because it's done in this sort of comic book graphic format, I think it makes I don't want to say more palatable, but it kind of removes you a little bit from the human aspect of it. That's not necessarily a good thing, because maybe it takes away a little bit of the hard-punching horror of the situation. But on the other hand, it makes it a bit more accessible, and it makes it easier to read through the 250 plus pages of the book and get a sort of fairly wide idea of everything that went on there. So a fantastic read. I think for me, everything I've read from Joe Sacco is truly fantastic. Check out my author overview if you haven't done so. I'll leave a link in the description below. And anyway, that's what I have for today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think. Take loads and loads of care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.